Hello, coaches and basketball enthusiasts. Welcome to another episode of the Coach Carvalho podcast, the podcast that explores the world of basketball analytics and goal training methods. I'm Coach Carvalho, your host. In today's episode, we are tackling a critical topic: the state of defense in college basketball. Why do many teams stick to outdated, conventional tactics that fail to capitalize on analytics? Why are games often decided more by opponents' poor shooting than by smart defensive strategies? And most importantly, how can we change that? Let's start with Alabama's 94-79 win over North Carolina. At first glance, it might look like Alabama's defense did its job. But when you dig into the numbers, the story changes. North Carolina shot just 18% from three-point range, well below their season average. This wasn't because Alabama forced bad shots or disrupted their offensive flow. Ian Jackson and R.J. Davis still scored 23 and 18 points, meeting or exceeding their averages. Alabama allowed North Carolina to maintain possession time and rhythm, relying on missed shots rather than tactical defense. The result, the win came more from their team's offensive than from defensive strategy. Now let's look at Duke's 84-78 win over Auburn. Auburn shot 52.5% from the field, right in line with their averages. Johnny Broome and Tahe Pettiford each scored 20 points, showing that Duke's defense couldn't take their top players out of the game. Fast break points and offensive rebounds also worked in Auburn's favor. Duke didn't use tactics to reduce possession efficiency or force turnovers. Instead, they relied on their offense to carry them to victory. Contrast those performances with Creighton's 76-63 upset of Kansas. This is where smart, analytics-driven defense made all the difference. Creighton's defense finished the game with 11 steals and 44 total rebounds, forcing Kansas into 15 turnovers, several above their season average, and holding them to just 37% shooting. Kansas also struggled to create open looks from three, shooting only 25%. Creighton disrupted Kansas' flow, reduced their effective possession time, and kept their points per possession well below average. This result wasn't luck. This was smart defense in action, showing how analytics can turn the tide against even the best teams. Another example is San Diego State's overtime win over Houston, 73-70. While balanced scoring played a significant role in the Aztecs' victory, Houston's top scorers, Emmanuel Sharp and L.J. Cryer, still scored 23 and 21 points, respectively. San Diego State's defense didn't neutralize them, and the win came more from offense and hustle than from a cohesive defensive game plan. Similarly, Colorado's 73-72 win over UConn came down to key defensive stops in the final seconds, but for most of the game, UConn maintained possession time and scoring efficiency. It wasn't analytics that dictated this upset. It was situational playmaking and UConn's below-average scoring during the third and fourth quarters. Now, let's bring in some core analytics to solidify this argument. In the Alabama and Duke games, their opponents averaged over 1.1 points per possession, which is a clear sign of solid offensive efficiency. Meanwhile, Creighton held Kansas to just 0.89 points per possession, a significant drop. Kansas also shot nearly 10 percentage points below their average field goal percentage, reflecting how Creighton's defense consistently contested shots and forced turnovers. In contrast, neither Alabama nor Duke significantly affected their opponent's efficiency. North Carolina and Auburn maintained their usual tempo and production, with key players meeting or exceeding their averages. One team imposed its will through analytics, while the others relied on hoping their opponent had an off night. Here's the bottom line. Smart defense is about control of the rhythm of the game. It's about forcing turnovers, reducing opponents' possession time, and reducing point production per possession to a level where they become vulnerable and beatable. It is about utilizing data-driven strategies, making them play outside their comfort zone. Creighton proved it against Kansas. They used analytics to impose their will defensively and walked away with the win. Meanwhile, teams like Alabama and Duke missed opportunities to take control and relied too heavily on their opponents' inefficiencies. Too often, teams stick to traditional tactics that react to the game rather than dictate it. It's not enough to hope for an off night from your opponent. The best teams impose their will on the game using data to disrupt rhythm, shorten possessions, and reduce efficiency. If more teams adopted this kind of approach, we'd see fewer predictable outcomes and more games where strategy, not chance, dictates results. That's the kind of basketball I want to see. In today's episode, we explored how stepping away from the conventional playbook and adopting a data driven mindset can create real opportunities for underdog teams. This isn't just about having more resources, it's about playing smarter, challenging the status quo, and driving the game forward. It's about leveraging analytics to lead your team to unexpected wins and ultimately championship success. For those coaches ready to elevate their strategy, Smart Hoops Analytics offers the tools and insights you need to break through limits and help your team compete on its own terms. Visit us at smarthoopsanalytics.com to see how analytics can transform your team's performance. Well, coaches, that wraps up today's episode. If today's discussion resonated, please support us by leaving likes and comments on our podcast website. Your feedback strengthens this community and our work. You can also find Coach Carvalho Basketball on TuneIn, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and more. Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in your coaching. Remember, it's about more than just numbers. It's about turning those numbers into effective success. Keep pushing the game forward, one strategy at a time. See you next time. This is Coach Carvalho signing off.